Um, look at me go. Okay, let me do some intros here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Dr. Jennifer Butler, and I'm the Director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion for the College of Business and Analytics here at SIU. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I want to welcome everyone to our event, Stories of Impact, Addressing Accessibility in Econ, Finance, Data Science, and Policy. Thank you for joining us. I have just a few announcements to make, and then I'm just going to turn it right over. So first, today's event is being co-sponsored by the Black Resource Center, and we're excited to include our event in the lineup of many amazing events that are taking place throughout this month as we celebrate Black History Month on campus. I'll drop in the chat box the link to the rest of the events that are taking place this month in case you want to check them out. Second, as you probably just noticed, we are recording today's event, so our online students have access to this recording at a later date. So just a heads up there. And then the third thing is I'm going to be also dropping in the chat box a link to our virtual sign-in sheet, because if your instructors are one of the ones that are asking for attendance so that they can distribute extra credit, this gives them proof that you were here. So I'll drop two different links into the chat box in just a second. So before I turn it over, I wanted to just do a little brief intro about our speaker today. She graduated from the University of North Carolina, Greensboro with a BS in Econ, and she also has a minor in anthropology. She's the founder of the Brown Moon Project, which is an environmental justice initiative dedicated to examining the impact of water scarcity and poor climate policy on Black and Brown women around the world. I'm sure she'll tell us all about herself. Some of her interests include international economics, climate policy, with a focus on racial and gender issues. She's actually here today speaking on behalf of the Sadie Collective. We're so honored to have her speak today. I'm so excited for y'all, few brave souls who are here to just soak up this information, this knowledge. And then for those of you who are catching this as a recording, please reach out to me, reach out to her if you have any questions or you want to follow up. So really with that, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over, and we're just going to listen to the amazingness that's about to come.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for being here. I know it's 5:30-ish your time, and there is a winter storm coming, so everyone's probably really in that mood of relaxing and winding down. So it's great that you all are joining me here this evening. And so no need to go through the whole bio again. Jennifer did a great job at going through everything. And I'll just talk more about my role at the Sadie Collective, which is really what this presentation this evening is about. And I would towards the end or even throughout, if you guys have questions or thoughts, feel free to maybe unmute or send a comment in the chat box and we can chat a bit. But my role currently consists of being an associate of the Sadie Collective, and it's grown from over the past 2 years, from facilitating our first virtual conference last year to what it is now, which is really engaging specifically our high school and undergraduate base of membership. And I'll talk more about some of the ways that we've begun to expand our programming to reach more students and things like that with our resources and our programming. But that's the gist of what I do. And I work with a team of amazing, brilliant Black women who are dedicated to doing this work and empowered every day by the work and the need as well for more voices, more representation, and more access to equitable resources. So super excited to be here with you guys. And we're going to go through a lot, but at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or raise like the hand emoticon, and we can make it more of a chat since it's more of an intimate group with us this evening. And with that, I will get started. So this is a gist of what we'll go through today. We're going to do an icebreaker in a moment, and then we're going to talk about the pipeline problem and some of the really unfortunate statistics around Black women representation in economics, and that'll lead us into why the Sadie Collective was founded and why this work is so important, and how we can support you all and how we can support your economic departments and how you can in turn come join us and engage with our programs so that we can work as a community to uplift each other. We'll get into some of our programs. We have 4 major programs, and then we have subset programs that happens throughout the year. So we'll talk more about that and ways that you guys can get involved if you're interested. And then we can do some live Q&A Q&A. But again, if there's questions throughout, I'm happy to answer. And then towards the end, we'll talk more about our conference. It's happening in approximately 14 days? I may be wrong by a day, but we have our annual flagship conference coming up, SACE 2022, and it's gearing up to be our largest conference yet. So we can talk more about that as well. So with that, I'll go into the icebreaker. Can you all see my screen okay? There's no text here. No, there's not any text here. Okay, so sorry about that. Well, the icebreaker was, can someone share maybe a New Year's resolution or one reason why they joined this call this evening? I would love to hear some of the reasons why you guys were interested in learning more about the collective.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start with that, if I can.
Yes.
My name's Nick Triplett. Really, I'm joining this call because first, extra credit's beautiful, but more importantly, I'm really new into business and really just wanting to get educated more on some of the stats and reasons for why some people would not be prioritized and being equal in the world of business.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Nick. Did anyone else want to share maybe one reason why they joined the call this evening or a New Year's resolution?
Hello, do you hear me?
I can. Christopher?
Yes.
Yes.
I went to join the call because I happen to be a middle child of two sisters. My older sister is a post grad and she's currently in the business side and she's looking to be a consultant. So I want to hear some of the information on her behalf. And for my little sister, I just want to retain some of the information, suppose that maybe her having the opportunity to be on the business side and her being, both of them being Black females. I think this is a great project for them to hear about. So I'm here to get some of the information on their behalf.
Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you. I'm also a middle child of two sisters. So we have that in common, but it's great that you're here just learning more for yourself in terms of how you can show up as an ally in the space, but also to share resources and knowledge with your family and your network. So that's great. Thank you for joining. And thank you both for sharing. I'll share maybe one of my New Year resolutions, and then we can move on to the next part of the program. This year, a lot of conversation in the collective with my team has been, how can we incorporate more ease in our work? And this isn't necessarily not having any kind of challenge in your work where you're not actively engaged, but how can we make sure that we're as aligned as possible with our mission and our goals, as opposed to some of the resistance that we may face if we're trying to attain goals or maybe show up in spaces where it's not really where we want to be, but we're trying to fulfill some idea of who we should be. So my goal this year is to ensure that I'm as aligned as possible with who I am, the work that I want to do, how I want to have impact, and to make sure I'm doing everything every day to align myself more and more with that. So that's where I am in 2022, and also with Black History Month. So with that, I will go into, oh, there it is. I'll go into the mission of the Sadie Collective. So we were founded in 2018 by two undergraduate women, Anna and Fonta, and they're both now off during their respective PhD and master's programs in public policy and economics, but they really saw a need during their studies in undergrad for more representation, more community, more resources being allocated to Black women. It's not that there's not resources there, it's just that we don't know where to access them or who to talk to, or maybe perhaps there is no community that is robust enough to support that, and they wanted to fulfill that need. And so Anna and Fonta, along with, I want to say maybe 5 other women who were also finishing their undergraduate studies, they started the collective. And the goal really is to address that pipeline to pathway problem for resources. And we do that through a number of different programmings, through consulting with major corporations like the entire New York Fed system. We have a partnership with almost all of the banks, to JP Morgan and to Goldman Sachs and beyond. So universities as well. So we do that by, one, getting the ears and attention of a lot of the industries and entities that have the influence to affect immediate material change, and then also through programming to affect the material lives of the people who we serve, which is Black women, and our allies, of course, as well. So Black women best, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the pipeline problem, is the idea that if you acknowledge that Black women exist at the intersect of both racial and gender disparities, and therefore is on the receiving end of almost all of the disparate impacts of, whether it's lack of economic resources or disenfranchisement or racism, sexism, whatever. If you uplift Black women, you'll find that the rest of society uplifts with you. And this is similar to a lot of some principles and stuff in economic studies, where it's, if you target, let's say, the poorest among you and you uplift them, everyone around them will benefit. So that is the idea that we have been, we've been operating within this framework as well. So that's a part of what we do and why we do the work we do. So I'll talk more about some of the data around the lack of representation in the field of economics. So in 2018, only about approximately 1,100 PhDs were awarded to Black women in economics. And to add some context to why that statistic is so staggering, because we understand that economics has the power to affect policy at every level and to affect lives at every level. And we understand that the way data is mined, the way it's visualized, the way that we use it to inform policy or to inform decisions, it's based off of the questions we ask and the way in which we visualize it. So if you don't have people in spaces who can help you ask questions that you yourself, from wherever you're coming from, can ask, right? Your perception and your lived experiences, you're going to have so many stories that's left out of those questions, so many perspectives that's not represented, simply because that's just not the space you're coming from. So when you don't have Black, brown women, Black men, Asian men and women in these spaces, you're going to get the questions reflecting the lack of that representation. And therefore it's going to, as a snowball effect, affect the material lives of the people with whom these policies are being created for, although it's not being created by them. So we realize that it's really important to address at every area, from high school, which we've begun to do this year, all the way to and through your PhD, post-grad work and beyond, because you want to ensure that you have access to resources, a sustainable network, and a really strong community to endure what can be coined as an old boys club, which is predominantly white older men in the field of economics, and that can create really harsh environments for Black women to attempt to navigate their academic careers. And personally, I can attest to that same experience. So Sadie for me has been amazing, and just bringing that community. And so now, before I was never even considering a PhD, I'm like, I feel like I could do a PhD now. So it's crazy how just having a strong community in 2 years, my entire perspective changed on my outcomes and my outlook in this space. So back to this statistic on the screen. This is the percentage of Black women who were awarded PhDs in economics between 2015 and 2018. And we attribute it to a variety of different barriers to entry. One of the things being starting as early as elementary, middle, and high school, when it comes to how they are associated and acclimated to math and science and those subjects. So that's kind of why we've begun to reach back and to work with high school students as well, to get them before they go into undergrad. But so that's one of the many statistics that we've been using to guide our work, and that has influenced and informed our mission and our projects and programs. And so in an attempt to address this disparate or disproportionate representation in the field, we have decided to, Anna and Fanta, along with our inaugural team of Sadie team members and beyond, we decided to come in and offer a variety of programs that would help address this. And the initial major way was our conference, which is the Sadie Team Alexander Conference. Excuse me if it's getting dark. The sun is setting here, and I did not turn the light on before I started this. So we're just going to go with it. If it gets too dark, I'll pause and I'll turn the light on. The Sadie Team Alexander Conference is named after Dr. Sadie Team Alexander, who I'm sure, as you know, was the first Black woman to be awarded a PhD in economics. And naturally, in the 1920s, she was not allowed to actually practice economics because she was both Black and female. So she So she opted to work as in law. And so she never actually was able to do any work in the field of economics, but it's through her and her legacy that we've decided to carry on the torch of actually ensuring that we can enable and empower Black women to practice in the field of economics, which is by extension in the fields of data science, finance, business, policy practitioner as well. And so that is our main program, which is SACE, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But this is the major framework from which we're working in: promoting scholarship, cultivating ambition, fostering community, which has been really of the utmost importance, and then also enabling empowerment. I see some chat boxes. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Melissa. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about our 4 major programming. So this is the Sadie Summit, our annual conference, SACE, the economic clubs that we've begun this year for high school students, and our membership portal, which is also was also launched this year. If you have any questions, please let me know. All of these things are also going to be really great resources for you all as well. So if there's something that you hear, Christopher, for your sisters that they may be interested in, maybe the Sadie Summit might be something they relate to the most, or perhaps if they're in high school, the economic club might be something they may be interested in. And if you all wanted to join the membership portal, you're welcome to. If you want to come to our conference, SACE, you're welcome to as well. So these are also great resources for you to use as well. And so I'm sharing them so you can kind of learn more about what they are and how they operate and how you can get involved. So I'll start with our economic club, since it starts at the beginning of our pipeline and high school students. Funded by Goldman Sachs, we were one of the first grantees in the 1 Million Black Women campaign. And we were given a grant that enabled us to expand our high school programming. And so what was initially envisioned to be high school clubs just turned into a really robust and enriching economic curriculum and academic and professional development programming. And so we kind of, we go into these schools, we partner with schools across the country. We have 3 schools as well, in Western Africa and Antigua in the Caribbean. And we have 2 schools in Western Africa and 1 school in Antigua in the Caribbean, as well as 25 high schools really on the East Coast, some in the Midwest and some in California, where we go in, we partner with teachers to bring economic curriculum to 9th through 12th grade high school students. And students of all ages and genders are able to participate in these clubs because they are kids, and we want to give as many of them as an opportunity to access our resources as possible. And so we've partnered with some Black women economists who are working in the field to help facilitate these programs. One of the really great benefits of this club is that you get to participate in the New York Fed Challenge, which historically was only preserved for their 21st district. But they made a rule this year that any Sadie Economic Club, regardless of where they were in the country, could also participate. And so this year's topic was the economics of climate change. And so students got to write an economic research paper styled as like an informative podcast to submit for this prestigious competition. So there's been a lot of really great resources poured into the school. In the spring, our students will be hearing from Bruce Kassman, who is the executive, the head research economist at JP Morgan and Chase. They'll be hearing from Jeremy Stein, who is the economics department head at Harvard University. And they'll also be hearing from Jan, who works as the head economist at Goldman Sachs. So they're going to be getting some really great fireside chats as well. And they also get free entry into our annual conference. So all this is free. We also do scholarships. It's getting really dark, guys. I'm going to turn light on in a minute. We also have really great scholarships for them as well. So that's our high school programming. I'm going to pause there on this next slide and talk more about our membership portal while I turn this light on, okay? Give me one moment. Feel free to drop questions in the chat box in the meantime. Okay, I think that's better. Context, I'm in Peru, so some of the lighting and the time as well as off for me, so it may be getting darker here than it may be back home for you guys, but we work virtually, so I decided to spend the next few weeks in Peru. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, again, feel free to drop them. I would love for this to be more of a dialogue. If you have any thoughts or questions. So the next portion of our programming is our membership portal. And so Our membership portal really aims to address 4 things: community building, jobs, events, and resources. One of the major components of our membership portal is a job board, which means from our partners, you'll get first access to job opportunities, internship opportunities, fellowships, scholarships from a variety of different places. So if you're interested in working in the field or in business or in econ, and you want to get some first look at some great opportunities, that's where our job board will be, and it's tailored for each demographic. So our high school students aren't going to get an econ assistantship at Brookings Institution, but they might get something more along the lines of, here's a scholarship for your first year in college. So we tailor it for each of our membership bases, and so this is a really great place to kind of get some resources and some job opportunities. And we also have a really great community as well that's begun to build itself out, where we have chat rooms and all kinds of groups you can join. And so it's a really fun way to connect with the greater Sadie community, which is over 2,000 strong, including our allies, and they're placed around the world. So if you're interested in networking, it's a really great way to kind of network as well and get clued into the events happening, not only within the collective world, but within our partners' worlds as well. Okay, so this is our conference. I see we have a chat. Openings that the Sadie Collective is having, or are you asking about other organizations? You can also unmute yourself if that would be. Okay. The organization I work for. Okay, maybe we can chat towards the Q&A so we can expand more on your question if you want to talk more about what that looks like. Wonderful. So we are on to the conference, which is coming up in about 14 days, and I really recommend that you all attend. I'm going to share with Jennifer the registration link and then also a code for you all to attend for free, since I want to say is what, 7 of you guys here, so, or 8. So you guys, or no, 7. So you guys can come for free. I'm going to give you guys a discount code. And Christopher, you can share it with your 2 sisters as well. And it's going to be really phenomenal conversation. It's gearing up to be our largest conference with over 500 attendees. And we've had speakers from the gambit of the finance economic space. And if you want to learn more about our past conferences on our website, and I'll drop that link in the chat towards the end of our call. And so this year we have topics ranging from climate economics to stock market to everything. So it really covers the gambit. And of course, everything is from the perspective of being Black and female in this space. So if you are coming as an ally, you're welcome to come in as an ally. But if you're coming as a Black woman or minority woman who's interested in learning more, you can also come in community. So just to be mindful of the space and the purpose of a lot of the panels and conversations. Every year we have a research reception, which highlights the research of Black women in economics, and they are all awarded $1,000 stipends, and they're also all partnered with prominent economists and practitioners in the field that aligns with their area of research. And so it's always been a really rewarding program for them as well. So if you're interested in maybe presenting your research, you can. We have our partners from the Brookings Institute, from the New York Fed Bank, from Harvard, from across the Sadieverse. They all come to this research reception. So if you were interested in potentially using it as an opportunity to network or to get your research out there, it's a great place to do that. Or if you know someone who may be interested. So I'll share more information about that as well. Okay, I know I'm going through these pretty fast, but I feel like I skipped one. Okay, there's one that's missing that's not on here, but I'll talk a little bit more about it. And in the meantime, you guys can scan this code with your phones. This is going to be registering for our conference, and I'm going to drop a discount code in the chat box now for you to use if you wanted to register now for free. This is I'm our high school associate, so that's a code that I give to everyone when I'm engaging with them if they want to come for free, so we can know who's been registering whom. And you can register in whichever ticket type you identify with. So if you're undergrad, you can register under undergrad. If you're postgrad, PhD, what have you, early career, you can just select whichever ticket type represents you. But I'll talk a little bit more about the Sadie Summit as well, since it's missing on this slide deck. we also recently launched the Sadie Summit, which is our inaugural first year program partner with JP Morgan Chase, where we have our first cohort of undergraduate students participating in really phenomenal economic research and academic and professional development programming. And it's over the course of, I want to say, like 7 weeks. And so they get to partner with JP Morgan Chase and work to kind of dig into the econ finance space. So it's a great opportunity as well. And again, all these things are on our website. So if there's something here that you want to know more about, if there's more data you want to learn about in terms of the gap, if there's articles you want to read, if there's interviews you want to listen to, our website is super, super in-depth. You can find almost everything you need that links out to other things and our other partners as well. So I recommend checking that out. And now that's it for me. You can go ahead and scan this. I'll leave this up for now. If you had any questions or any thoughts or feedback or anything about, I know Melissa had a question about maybe posting on the membership portal. Now would be a really good time to ask. So feel free to unmute yourselves or on camera yourself, and we can chat. Thank you as well for your time. I know it's getting late.
Okay, so I'm going to start us off since icebreaking may not be everyone's specialty. So I have a question just in general about you mostly covered, you covered all the different resources and stuff, but when it comes to grad school, say these are already undergrad students and they're looking to grad school, can they still participate, or are they kind of phased out and maybe just utilizing the job board aspect? What can we do for those grad students, soon to be grad students?
Now that's a wonderful question. So, the only, I would say, demographic who's not really looped into most of the programming are high school students, simply because they are not in a space yet where they can actually participate in some of the jobs and internships. Every other job and internship and fellowship or research opportunity available is for undergraduate, graduate, early career. So that's like 3 to 5 years post undergrad or post your academic program, PhD students, and even established professionals. So what I will say is specifically tailored for graduate students is our research reception. So we have 2 separate research programs. One is the Sadie Talk Scholars, which is for our high school and maybe like freshmen in college, sophomore in college student members. And then we have our research reception, which happens every year at our conference. And that is for grad research or grad level research. So you may be an undergrad, but you may be completing, graduate level work with the help of your economic professor. So that is where we really highlight our graduate students or our PhD students as well.
Awesome. That's so awesome. Thank you.
No problem. And what I'll also say too is that almost all of our speakers who come to the conference are PhD or mastered in economics, finance, or business. And so if the goal was to connect as you begin to, traverse your grad program or your postbac program, that would be also a great space to connect as well, because those are going to be the people who are going to be in similar academic spaces. So you can kind of give you guidance on what navigating an economics master's degree looks like, or a public policy or finance or BA or MBA degree looks like as well. So the conference would be a great place for that as well. Thank you for your question.
Okay, students, come on. Ask a question. Think about a question. We have a great brain right here and a very interesting resource.
And then I can also share my email. So if there are questions that you may have later, you can send me an email. It's going to be at engage@sadiecollective.org. I'll keep an eye out for it. I know how these calls go. I remember being in college once upon a time. I'm like, I'm not asking no question. So I completely relate. But I want you to know that this is a safe space. So if you did want to ask a question, maybe something about, I remember the data earlier. I remember Nick was curious about that with his experience in business, or as he began his business experience. You guys are welcome to. And also, Myra, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. If you wanted to elaborate on your question, you're welcome to here. I'm not sure if you wanted to ask questions about our organization, our partner organizations, or your organizations. So, so you can just let me know.
I was wondering if it was available for me to be able to share that link to the conference because it happened to hit me. It's kind of funny that one of my longtime friends who happens to be an African American female who goes to University of Louisville, she's an econ major currently, and
Yeah.
I just sent her a text about it to kind of give her the information about your guys' organization. So I feel like this is the she never heard of you guys, and then she said she recently just told me that she's definitely interested for the information.
Yes, let me give you that. Actually, I'm going to reshare my screen. If you scan this code, give me one sec. It's going to take you on your phone to the registration page. And you can send that link to her. I'm going to send you the link as well in the chat box, but the QR code that you scan here is the link to the conference. And I'll also drop our website as well here for you to send to her. You know, what's so interesting for me is when I was in college, I was initial international business major. I changed it to Spanish. I didn't know what I was doing, and then I changed it back to international business. And then I had a business one-on-one class where I had to research one of the majors in the business school, and I was assigned economics. And so that's kind of how I got introduced to economics, and that's when I decided to change my major. And so it wasn't until maybe my second semester or my first semester junior year where I heard about the Sadie Collective from a professor, but it was too late because the conference had sold out. At this time, it was in person. This is pre-COVID. And it was in Washington, D.C., which is where I'm from. And I was going to school in North Carolina. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for something. Because at that point, I was really unsure of what to do next. I was like, I don't know what to do with this degree. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. I was just so confused. And so when I heard about the collective and the conference with all Black women in my hometown, I'm like, this is perfect. I get to register and the conference is all sold out. And I was so sad. So I was like, I'm just going to register for their mailing list and I'm going to sign up and I'm going to stay locked in. And then I got the email maybe like a year later for the next conference, which happened in 2019 or 2020. And then I went on scholarship because I couldn't afford it then to go, and they provided a scholarship for me to attend. So they paid for my flight, they paid for my hotel stay, and they paid for my conference ticket, the collective. And that's where I got introduced to our founders and where I signed the volunteer sheet to work with the collective. And that's kind of how my journey with them started. So I would definitely recommend sharing out with your team because, we don't learn about it very early. Almost all of my economic professors were old white men. I think I had maybe one white female teacher, and that was it. It was all white men from Econ 101 to econometrics, and so they were not either tuned into my community or not concerned with tuning into my community. So I had to go find it for myself, and so I just so happened to kind of get an email randomly, but by that time it had already sold out. So it really changes the entire conversation. I have my bachelor's degree in economics from the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Thank you. Currently preparing to go get my master's in econ. We'll see how that goes. Everyone's like, get a PhD. I'm like, no, not right now. My mentor is like, just get one, just do it. And I was like, okay, I'll think about it. But right now, master's for sure. Master's in economics for sure. Okay, I'm dropping.
Well, yeah, so while they're still thinking on other questions, thoughts, and comments. All right, so mentoring. How important do you think it is? How did you find one considering the demographics of what normal economic departments look like? So,
Yeah.
Thinking grad school, what's your secret there?
That's a wonderful question. And that's also something that we're really driving home for our high school students as well. What we understand to be true is that it's incredibly important to have a mentor. It can make all the difference in your academic and professional and personal lives. So we have a mentorship roundtable every year at our conference. And we ask our speakers and some of the more established experts and professionals from our network if they're willing to mentor, and almost 99.9% of them all say yes. And so we pair maybe like five people with however many dozens of Black women economists, practitioners, and even some of our allies. So that could be white or Asian or Black, and it could be female or male individuals who's willing to partner with some of our members. So mentorship is incredibly important. It's really hard to know what you don't know. So I have a lot of empathy for people who are really attempting to make things make sense, but you just don't know what questions to ask if you don't know what questions to ask, right? Like it's like until you turn a corner, you can't see what's there. And a mentor can kind of bring everything full circle and put it in your purview. So I would just recommend finding more spaces like this where you can find community. Go on the Googles, Google is great. Look at hashtags. Twitter is also a great place for economics. That is really where we get most of our traction. Almost all of our engagement comes from our Twitter. Twitter econ is insane. So if there's someone in your family who is interested in learning more about economics, or maybe are a minority, or a part of a minority group, just like hashtag this field and then like the race or the gender or whatever it is you're looking to identify with, and you can kind of find your people there. You have to be more persistent about it. It's not easy, and you have to kind of have an understanding of the questions you want to ask, and maybe what perhaps you can also offer to that dynamic as well, because a lot of people seek mentors and they just want them to give them all the good stuff, but a lot of what sustains a good mentorship is a relationship. Like you can have coffee with your mentor and ask them how their life is going. How are you feeling? What are you doing? And then there's room as well for you guys to kind of give a nice, feedback loop of questions and answer. And through a relationship, you kind of get insight and wisdom, and not so much like, give me money, or, give me a job, or, things that we think networking is. But yeah, so find one is incredibly important. It can make or break your entire experience. And also, if you don't have access to a physical mentor, you can have mentors in books and in podcasts. And like I've learned so much from listening to YouTube lectures. And so I have mentors who don't even know they're my mentors. I'm just like learning from them and taking their life experience until I have, enough something around me to find one. So there's really creative ways that you can kind of tap into a community that you need in the meantime to kind of address whatever it feels like you're lacking. But come to our conference. We have a mentorship roundtable there. And we also have like maybe 10 programs minimum throughout the year as well, where there's a great opportunity to connect with our mentors as well. What kind of economics I'm considering? I would just like to take a general economics with a specific lens through climate policy. So I want to look at climate economics, environmental economics specifically. And I took a lot of math in undergrad, a lot of calculus, a lot of stats, and then a lot of the hard econ stuff like econometrics and all the math that comes with micro and macroeconomics and those things. So I would say I'm not a big math person. I know math can be a really big barrier for people. I was like, I don't like math, but you learn to love math. I think a lot of it is just scary. But once you know it, and if you just read the book and if you just study a bit, it becomes easier. So I recommend kind of, if you do have like a fear of math, kind of getting past it a bit, because once you get it, you got it. And it feels so nice to be studying in the library and your textbook looks like, Einstein, and you just feel so smart and you feel like, okay, I'm not doing that bad at all. And so math is a really important part of it, as well as being able to like code and program, which is what I would also recommend. I didn't really learn about the importance of having Stata or R or Python in my research, my econ research, but that's really important. So if you can find a Stata class, it could be free. There's a lot of free ones out there. There's a lot of ones that cost like $300. If you connect with the collective, there's also resources for us to provide you a stipend to pay for your coding class and things like that, because coding is also really important, just kind of visualize and aggregate data. So that's a big part of it as well. Technology, aside from my laptop working and the lights being on for the Zoom, no, not in my role at the moment, no. But perhaps if you have more of a computer science and data analytics job or research assistantship, if you're actually practicing economics, I'm sure it will be. But no, we're not tech. We just use some data science and computer science principles to help us to do our research and our work. Melissa, did you want to ask more about your question, or did you want to just email me offline?
My big thing was the organization that I work for, they have positions that come up in these roles like economics, data statistics. I'm always having people that I've worked with in the past reach out with roles, and they need someone like an actuarial or someone that's familiar with setting up, like you were talking about, like algorithms in a particular language.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
that's a great
didn't know
question.
if there was a way to submit those to your organization.
Yeah. That's a great question. So what I'm sharing with you right now is our partner at Sadie email. So there is a way for you to post your jobs on our digest and on our job board. I don't know the logistics of that, but there are people who do. So I'm going to give you their contact. And then, or you can also just email me and I'll do like a loop and I'll introduce you guys. And if you can send me an email with like the name of your company, and then I'll just like connect you with who can give you answers on that. But we would love to explore what that could look like with posting relevant jobs on our membership portal. So it's partner at Sadie Collective. I hope this is the right email address. Okay. I can't remember if it's org or if it's .com. It's .org. Got you. Okay. So that's an email you can send, and then mine again. I'm just gonna drop it here again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for your questions. Well, I don't want to hold you up anymore. Thank you so much for your time. Again, I'm going to put this back up here for another minute. If you wanted to come to our conference, you can scan it and it'll take you to our registration page. You can use this code that I'm dropping. It's called Sadie High for Sadie High School, but you can use Sadie High and register for whatever ticket type is appropriate for you, which would be undergraduate, and you'll be able to get a ticket for free to our conference. And you can just really kind of like see the full scale of the work that we do. I feel like I did not do it justice at all, but our website is also a really great resource if you're curious about our past conferences and our past speakers and all the magic. Sadie's a really magical place. It's crazy. So I really recommend that you get connected. And if you have any Black women in your network who could benefit, then connect them as well, because it will completely change, a lot of their outlook on, their potential, and bring them into a really loving and supportive community. So with that, I will hand it over to Jennifer. Thank you guys. Here's some emails if you have any questions, conference inquiries or general inquiries. And then I drop my email and then the partner email as well in the chat. Thank you.
Wow, so much. It was so great. Okay, thank you. Make sure you have some of these links. If you miss some of these links, don't worry. You can always email me or stop by my office and I'll dig them out for you. Because this is actually a really great opportunity. Believe it or not, having the access to a conference that is so diverse in the sense of like what it could cover and what it could also do for you and your network. Because if it may not exactly apply to you, notice Chris was able to pull up just off his phone. He was like, boom, I have a friend. This is her thing. And so that's the thing about this. I found out about the Sadie Collective actually waiting in the doctor's office reading a Teen Vogue article. Totally honest. I was like, Teen Vogue, wow, when did you become so educational? And the next thing I knew, I was emailing this Teen Vogue article to the director of our School of Analytics, Finance, and Economics, going, wow, we should have them talk to our students. Did you even know this existed? Everyone kind of knows about Dr. Sadie Alexander, but they don't understand just like the inspiration and the motivation that led to the creation of the Sadie Collective. And so that's why I wanted to put her in front of us so that we could get this information and we could also then share it with other people, because they may not have also known if they weren't reading Teen Vogue that one day in the doctor's office. And so please, please, if you don't have this information, you didn't write it down, didn't, snap a picture of it, contact me, contact her. But yeah, thank you so much for speaking to us about all the different resources available and why these resources are needed and the motivation that came to bringing the Sadie Collective into existence. So that's pretty much it for me. I think I saw Chara come in. Chara, I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there anything you want to say? Chara is the coordinator of our Black Resource Center, and she is hosting magical events throughout this month. And so, we're co-sponsoring with her. I'm so incredibly excited to be included in her magical month. And Chara, do you have anything you want to say? I'm really putting you on the spot.
No pressure though, Chara.
No pressure, don't worry.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I caught a little bit of what you were saying. And I thought a lot of that information is just so useful for our students because a lot of them just have questions about the topic and just need to have ways to connect and receive that mentorship. So I thank you for taking your time out to speak to us this evening. It was great.
Yes. I hope some of that resonated with you guys. Take what you need, leave what you don't, share what you need, share what you like. So yeah, and if you want to learn more, of course, our conference is probably the best place to kind of get the full scale of all that we have to offer. And then you can kind of get linked into our programs throughout the year. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for your time. Enjoy your snowstorm. Get all the things you need so you're not like without like tissue or something. I know everyone went crazy with tissue. So get everything you need. And yeah, have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you
It's been
very much.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Enjoy Peru.
Thank you. Bye.